Good morning. Or whatever it is, wherever you are. Alright, so last week I thought I forgot to add leader arrows. It turns out Jason forgot to add leader arrows. So we still need to do that. We need to fix yum highlights. And that's just a straight up fix. Need to go back and do arrows for this. Wrap up this patch. And I should probably check for other things as well. It will never completely clean this repository. No. Okay, good. We had no work in progress stuff. Speech length limit. We didn't have any conflicts, I think. Oh. There's a common file for that, which makes sense. Dang redeems makes sense. Okay, that's server side. Oh, the server sends that to you. Well, we can do a pointer to their last known position, or we could have done a pointer to their last known position. Oh, leader used to be, these used to be client side only. Oh. This included the unfollow command. It wasn't in the change message. Okay, that's server. Okay, so the server is just sending emotes to us. And then this one we're going to have to deal with. Oh, right. But it's object bank. Yum parent ID. Hmm. Okay. Oh. Oh, no, he started to do this and was like, oh, I need to do it the other way. Okay. Gotcha. Hey, I don't think this affects me. The MID is actually going to break some stuff. And we need to work on a specific patch for that. Mhover. Actually, we can probably also view those here. Okay, so Yummy Phone Chain is an int. Int pointer becomes food ID. What? Oh, you are... a statically allocated array. Okay. I might have to do that at the becomes food level. What do I do with you? Well, no, I get the object record. Wait. Oh, is that just to say... if it's not a real object... it's definitely inedible. Okay. I should almost just say if get object equals null then. And it becomes food. And you see, is yummy would be, which is this. So we might be able to handle it entirely in there. Object ID depth. That returns an object ID again. This is the thing I might want to revisit sometime in terms of if we can, like, I know whatever added something to like skip bowls. Determining if something could become food. I might be okay with that as a setting rather than a compiled in value. Last 8 object. Oh, now you see here. Here we're also going to have to deal with the MID. So the surface of that is yum parent ID. And this is seeing if if that thing is in there. Last 8 object. Oh. Okay. So if it's a use dummy, does that mean it will get the yum ID copied to it? And that would show up on the different states of pies. Set up yum parent, set up yum parent. Then object bank step. So what happens when we build a dummy object? Use dummy IDs. Dummy set to 0. Num dummy objects. Re-add object. Oh, wow. It looks to me... Well, maybe add object is going to reparse that from the title. Wait, no, this is add object. I want re-add object. All right, re-add object just adds the object again. Which is probably not a cheap process. In add object, set up yum parent. Okay, so probably it pulls that out. So we should be able to say, is this an only if it's not equal to -1? So this is probably what we're going to want to have something like this in is yummy. Does becomes food handle... the parent objects? Is use dummy. Well, we're saying if food object is object food value greater than 0. We're going to, let's go out on a limb and say, well, we have to get the object first. That if obj yum parent is set, then that's only going to get set on food. And as long as, oh, we attempt to get the object ID here. I might not be able to do this anymore. Or I would have to get the object and look up its yum ID before dealing with it. Although, what is that actually assigned to? Plus yum. And that's a D. So is it just like yum 1, yum 2, yum 3? Of course I'm not hungry. Was I working on the hunger digs last time? 7.1. Okay, so it is somewhat standard settings. Might have to be even higher. I need like popcorn or something. Okay, but that's not yum ID. Actually, I think berry and bowl are the only like actual yum ID things. I guess a bowl of berries would have worked. Oh no, that's yum 31 apparently. Oh, I didn't look at the. Oh. It's saying that is the same as the base food. I think that's fine. Okay, and then bowl of gooseberries is meh. Now, this is all client tracked. I should bookmark that. I just want to check going the other way. So this is not actually... Oh, not hungry yet. Not actually, but I have to get hungry first. And this is shown as ma, which should be correct. And then we just hope that get object null thing wasn't for a particular case. It was more of just a paranoia thing. Oh. So in practice right now, there was some comment about it doesn't matter. We're not replacing... Oh, because O isn't used. May or may not be a valid object ID. And I mean, that's kind of the same thing. So he's dealing with eaten object, and that's all he has to deal with. So I could not use this in becomes food. Anytime I ran that, I would have to look up the object and get its yum ID in that case. That would still allow me to check the things got put in here are in fact objects. But that was probably just paranoia? Alright, STG, go to... Did that get filed under location slips or player search? Okay, type, which includes lead. Yeah, because location slips would include all of the various people pointers. All right, now what was his change? Leader gives you error to leader. So here, actually, it's not really a client change. It's asking the server to send me the... Although I do need to do my help page again. Which is itself a different patch. So that might be okay. Now that... I might want to block some of these messages sometime. Go to help overlay. So I have to see, well, no, it's more commands, so that might not actually affect me. I think I already had to move my stuff kind of out of that side. Get out of the cold here. Unfollow. Okay, so that's actually fine. That should be a lead ding, so it should be fine. Okay, so this is the largest published. I'm going to publish that stuff so that we're adjusted for... Is that worth a changelog? Patches master. $64. They're all going to include patch updates. Actually, that might be a way to check if we updated other stuff. Nope. Just roll the gooseberries. All right. I might still want to adjust the time window on that, but the setting can be the time window. Was there something else I need to do on this? It feels a little fast at times. Or like it gives you, no, it comes on a little late as an adult. Then you're just sitting there dinging as a baby. That was the thing I needed. It felt like we were not getting any warning. Like before we got to starvation. I think there was something in there that was supposed to ding it like every time your food changed. Unfortunately, we're going to be a ways from starvation here. Well, I guess we can help that along by staying cold. All right, a little more than a minute. Oh, we've already got hungry, and we're not getting... Yeah, because that's a minute and a half. We're not getting any... Yeah, so this is what we're missing. I think what he did was it said ding every time that updates, but I moved it out, so it's a helper function. I think it's called from both temperature update and food update. So we should be hitting starving pretty soon. But maybe he only does that at starving. I think that could be a good way to get like the early warning on. Ding, 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 ding. What did I call that? Oh, right. So that's where things were. They got changed. Food drain time is where we're talking about this, and we've got a time-based hunger dings function. Oh. And I accidentally broke that while we were changing everything. That was less than or equal to, so we switch off to there, we do that. We have another patch that updates it. The thing we have to watch out for is... Okay, so this is... Where's starvation time times 2? Hunger slip visible, pulse hunger sound false. If it's greater than 1... If it's greater than 0... Oh, so pulse hunger sound is like the final thing. So he only dinged at starvation. Oh, maybe I'm getting extras because I'm currently calling on a temperature update. So I always hate doing flags, but if it's... We could do, you know, food change. versus heat change. Heat change would do... I like the pulse things. And you have to be in the header file. So access member variables. You use char for booleans, don't you? All right, CPP is buffer 4. So this is an else if. Rack capacity, we're full. If we're old, we don't do anything. It almost looks like hunger was just the slip. And then the dings were actually... only at starvation. I guess I should test that. It always felt like it ramped up more. Now, of course, this is going to be on very, very fast hunger drain, so it's going to be relatively fast. Wait. I keep getting hungry. I shouldn't be getting hungry if that code is off. Oh, okay. We did have a placeholder for the switch here. So that was the two different systems fighting over it. I still need the switch here because I think we're getting extra dings because of the temperature updates. So this is just hungry. Okay, so there is nothing there. And there's the emote. And there, okay, so that pulse is actually the thing that's ramping up. Huh. Well, I mean, that had to be less than 45 seconds, so technically well, if I'm well dressed, it seemed like it was coming on kind of late. But I guess what I was, well, I mean, it should have still been like, man, maybe at one box. Maybe I was better dressed than what I calculated the time for. So I don't necessarily want to add that to the hungry phase. So he's counting on this hitting one of these cases. I guess we'd have to switch this one. I know, because that's still saying pulse hunger sound. I wonder if there's a setting for how much food Eve starts with. There might be a setting for age. You could start at age with like 9 food. Okay, so we got hungry slip. And in scenarios like this, we should be starving for more boxes, which means more dings. I never thought that was based on the boxes before. Now, the greater than 0 and greater than 1. Oh, the server's probably still sending the emote based on its rules. Well, probably you wouldn't want people to abuse it. Okay. What was the base I used for 45 seconds? Well, 45 seconds. That was based on, yeah, it was like 11. It worked out to 11 seconds-ish. I think that was before I put in the +1 for the 0 box. So it might actually be like 56. In good clothes. The problem is this also affects the babies, which is part of the original point. So this is based on food store, but we removed the food store calculations. Now, greater than 0. Oh. Food store greater than 0. I'd swear that it was still going at 0. But all we're looking at is, and you see, I need to know what greater than 1. So it's at 1 or 0 that it goes bonkers. So that would be like 20 seconds. And you see, that's like half of 45. I don't know if I want it to be half of 45, because that's 4 versus 1. It's almost like a quarter of that? What's the equivalent of food store greater than 0? I mean, the food store greater than 0 might be to protect us against the times when we have not received a food update yet. I mean, that might be a double, just because, yeah, it's double. So technically, the ding on every hunger down is a starvation thing versus a hunger thing. I was probably getting extra because of the temperature updates. So it seemed like it went from nothing to a lot. Of course, I also have to have time for the temperature to catch up here. Server settings. Eve injection on, Eve name. Eve window seconds. Force Eve age. Probably it's just full food. Oh. So that must have a default age built in. As a default. But we could set it to something else. Nope, I can't go back there. Oh. That seems like we're doing pulse hunger already. Oh no, this was greater than. Do it on change. If it's less than, pulse it. I almost want to say I should just reverse that condition. Oh. So force, Eve age. All right, we are farther than what we can get by resetting. Although I guess that doesn't take into account loading time. Or not as far as we can get by reloading. Oh, no, 9 is wrong. I need 9 minus 4. It's like 5. Of course, I'm looking at the standard box times, but we should still get a ramp. Hmm. Well, we're looking for a rough emulation of last box. But at that rate, I feel like we should have gone there sooner. I think I still had some output. Starvation time. 0 times... Right, well, that was this... Right. We had the +1. So that was food store and just food drain time. It was still 478. Completely naked, huh? Hmm. So that was saying 4.78 seconds. Now, that's an upper limit on the time, actually. because you do have that extra box. Is that right? So in standard settings of 2 to 20 seconds. Oh, I didn't update my age. We get to 4. Oh, he tweaked the default settings. Now, I measured this based on default settings, I'm pretty sure. Or the temperature in default settings. Yeah, so he... maybe like 4 to 24. So what does that mean? Maybe I make the offset 0.5 so it's like somewhere in the middle of here. I mean, in principle, we could take the food rain time and the time of our food update and sort of do a dead reckoning for an exact amount. Might be getting a little fancy. You don't want that. But if that's our minimum, it's like we're never gonna be that small. So even 1 there. Alarm time turns up 0.25. Oh, maybe that's one of the things I ran into. It's like we're at 1 box, but we've actually got our full runtime there. Because that's similar to hitting starvation when we still got a lot of time. So that would get you down to like 2 seconds. J45 would be enough, but I think this has to be like an alternate condition in this case. Is this an and because it's a negative? This is the pulse on there versus the pulse every time. So we want that to be, if our food store is at 1, or we're within so much time of starvation. Wait a minute. That just wasn't working. Or maybe just it wasn't working as soon as I thought it should. Because alarm time times 0.25 is still like 10 seconds. 10, 11 seconds. Okay, that's 3. We didn't quite go all the way up. So that should have been able to get low enough. I guess I need to see what the result of that multiplication is. I mean, I know what it should be. And then go immediately into starving. So that's one problem, is there's no ramp. Okay, well, it's at least equivalent to that, but probably, well, I might need a longer alarm time, because it's going to make that ding even more in the naked situation. But it's like, that is actually going to be very, very hard to achieve. And part of that is actually the lack of resolution. So if we had Dead Reckoning, we could see you could see each pip dying. Yeah, now this is weird. So this, if we wanted to say when we pulse, it would be less than 1. Yeah, no, so that'd be and. Less than 1 or less than quarter. I mean, do I actually do this? I almost feel like I have to do this at half to for an ordinary scenario to get anywhere close to the food store 1. Which is still so strange to me because it's like if that entire time is 4 boxes. Well, maybe because we don't have that sub-precision. But if we went to ding, 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 ding at half of that, some of it could be the 0 offset. Yeah, so it's this weird balancing act between baby state, where you're usually sitting by a fire and you're usually not that urgent, and adult, where you might be out and about in the world and want some time to react. Well, out and about in the world with good clothing. Yeah, that's at 7 seconds, 11.95 seconds. And that's an absolutely frigid Arctic. Okay. No, I was saying, for baby, I was saying feed me at 1, so we weren't. Maybe I was actually doing feed at 0. So sitting at 1 was the problem. Still on a fire, our runtime should be significantly longer. So why I wanted to reduce it. So a very, very low food store is a situation. We've still got our runtime check. Maybe it's that +1. Or +half now. So you're never actually seeing that state where you're really low or at 0. So if we tried to do an estimated food loss, we would take the food drain time, it would take the game time of the last update. Well, then only temperature updates would cause it to recalculate, though. Well, yeah, I guess we're just sitting there. Now, the larger I make that alarm time, the larger we make our bottom window. Or our urgent window. Then you've got the baby problem. I'm actually not sure if the feed limit is half or exactly 2. What is that emote called? Well, the server probably has its own setting for it. It might be by number. Okay, it does starving emotion index. Total. He's doing it time-based. Interesting. It does seem to hit around 4 for a person who's naked in the Arctic. Okay, so he's doing total food, but he's not doing an offset. That's the baby limit. That's the decrement time, which is what the same time he's going to send to us. All right, so for parity with that, let's see. If it was at 1 and we were in a standard green, no, the 11 was a partly dressed player. Where would that emote show up? Maybe I should make that a separate setting. We've got like starvation time and urgent starvation time. Of course, then there's hunger time, which was implicit in being twice the other one. Oh, you're very small now. Okay, so Eve started out at perfect temperature. So the Arctic is like 4.7 something. This seems to be settling around 6.9. So for a naked player, that is about 3 boxes. But that's 3 decrements, really. And like one of them, so you kind of have that first one. So you got the decrement that kills you. Got a second before that happens. Decrement your first box. Second before that happens. So actually, there's about 2 boxes. So maybe we make that 0.5. So this says we don't go into super urgent mode. Actually, 0.5 is going to be a little bit more than 20 seconds. Maybe if food is at as low as 1 is still a useful condition. All right, you're full, which is short-circuiting the actual starvation notice, which is interesting. Okay, so the server calculated 20 seconds. And we're at 0.5, so that's... Oh, and I'm still doing the offset, which I guess he doesn't consider it. I may have put that in there to help with the baby situation. As we extend this, it would also extend the urgent warning then. And we should probably have this as a backstop. I guess for this I should have auto login on. I hope to be doing multi-person stuff in a bit, though. Okay, so that kicks in about the same point as you're doing a mode with the 45-second setting. Now you see, now that feels like too much. Of course, I guess in the standard scenario, you'll get that 20-second warning too. I'm not sure how that's going to kick on in normal circumstances. Would it be easy to do a thing that was like, one dang it when you went to Hungary? I'd kind of have to remember the state of that. So all we got was an update. Max food store and food capacity. Oh, well, there's a food increased. What is a food store? Food capacity. Maybe the max is something different? And food capacity is the boxes. Okay, so these are the variables that he got from the message versus what's in our object by the time we're looking at stuff. It's there. We would have to be looking for the specific line. Actually, with it being time, that could vary a lot. It seemed kind of long. 2.5 seemed kind of short. We'll still have hunger remote. I guess it would be 20 seconds when you've got close. No, wait. Oh yeah, 11 per pip, 1 pip. It's 2 ticks. So I guess we go with 1 time for now, and we'll see how that works out. So right now, alarm time is a constant here. I don't think we have any stuff. What's a match of product, interaction keys. There's all the yum stuff. Name labels. Starvation alarm time. Starvation alarm time. Default value 45. That's used to don't even exist. All right, so that should work pretty much the same. Oh, and I'll need the special case for I'll have my test for that. Time-based hunger dings. Starvation alarm time. Oh, and as we approach completion, we also want to turn off that. Seems about right.
Oh.
Probably means the baby case is going to be going crazy again. May have to check that later. Of course, we're practically a baby there, so maybe that'd work. All right, for locals, we're here. Actually, that's, well, it's easy to delete all the contents. Not the best file to work with. So there's off, which we would expect to work on exactly the 8.4 type thing. Whereas full is kind of a special case. Somebody picked not a great age. Okay, so at 8 we're hungry. At 4 we're starving, and that hits exactly 20 seconds in Arctic. All right, so if we picked, I mean, this probably wouldn't even be all that different. I guess the starving would kick in sooner. Because we're right at the point where we're just immediately going to be going into hunger here. Okay, that's immediately into... Oh. It's weird. It's like it's partially in there.
Oh.
And it would kind of flip off for a little bit. Okay, yeah, so you've got very little warning. We've actually got a hungry stage. So then that thing actually kicks in sooner. I mean, we've still got the one condition. All right, so that seems to work. It might take some time to figure out what the right setting is. Or some experimentation. I did play at 45 last time, but I've tweaked some other things. Seemed like it came in kind of late. Game source settings, we need it there, so it ends up in the source. Are you not? Okay. I guess the black just ties against black. So I'm probably going to want to test that again today, but that's kind of about shippable. Oh, for that. So I want to do the MID update. Definitely. But this is going to need like change log and stuff. I can go back and tag previous commit, although the change log will have a question mark on the version number. Yeah, we think it'll work. Change log. Okay, typoed something. Well, values might do some tweaking. That's just Mr. README. And based hungerdings. Relative to clothing, etc. So we've got starvation arm time This might need some tweaking. I might want to change the multiplier a little bit. I might want to change the multiplier for urgency. I might want to make settings for, at least for the urgency. Or just leave it at 1. Or at one food box. I never did do a fire check. Now, I'm not actually a total young baby here. But didn't I have... Well, yeah, there was a fire here. And you often get dressed up in towns. And you see, I actually need to get low first. Because the last couple interest me. That's weird. Oh, did I get a food update that didn't actually decrease me? So that's already making a difference.
Oh.
Okay, so there's the server's 20 seconds. And we're into... Well, I wasn't in optimal temperature there. Yeah, so that's still super dingy at... Well, maybe I was sitting at 1. And it's like, well, I've still got my 0. But I'm okay with that because I'm watching it. So I'd almost have to do the... Well, the secondary dings seemed to suggest I was getting extra food updates. In which case, the time of a food update would not equal the start of the timer. But even on that fire, I was probably around, what, 22, 24 seconds? And that's with 1, which 1 is one of the conditions. So the problem I was actually having wasn't even the regular system. It was when you're at 1 or less, you go into super urgent mode. Which I was sort of considering okay there. And which we left the 1 or less as a backstop in case we had like a really good temperature. And it's like, you're still getting really close to the edge there, bud. Yeah. This might end up being a bit misguided because I was mostly after the baby dings. And that was the exact equal one. All right. You're not. Just STG the STG repo. There we go. All right. However, I would like to take a break. I need to refill my water and stuff. And then we have to bend our brain with alignment stuff. No, I pulled this out for... Ooh, modification station fragment. Yes, please. All right, that's a 3 of. Okay, so this is a little bit bright for Rex. And it's in my face sometimes. Alright. Probably time to go get some air.
I don't know why I want to turn the dampeners on. Okay. Ah! What the? What just happened? Like, I legitimately don't understand what just happened. I understand that part. That part made perfect sense. Help me. Come closer. I don't really want to. I don't want to come closer. Oh! Oh shit. Okay, well that was scary. Oh my god. No. Oh. Dang it. Well, you got me. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you guys got me in the void. Dang it. Okay. 062032. There's nothing in here. Fuck them. Fuck them.
But anyway, oh, somebody peed? What the heck?
All right, welcome back. So leadership graph. This is where I actually want to reconfigure the server for extremely slow hunger rate, so we just keep a bunch of people around. Uh, well, if we find a bunch of people, the new ratios will give us some Eves who can actually follow. Then we'll start to build up a graph, and sometime after last time I worked on this, I had an idea about why the layout might be wonky. I have to kind of get back into it. Do I need to keep you around? I might need to set up some follow relationships. But I'm probably good. Well, I might need to pick up babies. And again, my hunger should be low enough, it shouldn't matter much. Alright, I don't think I need the babies around. I usually get 3, but I probably type more letters. Oh, you're probably overlapped with this stuff. Okay, but we have no width yet. And width is actually where we have some problems. Okay, and we have created problems. Well, this actually doesn't look bad yet. It's like these are sort of reasonable. This is unnecessarily over, though. And we just had a bigger arrangement before that was causing more trouble. So we want to see this thing centered on there. Leadership graph. Living life page. That was fields on there. Oh, we just had some code in here, didn't we? Okay, so that wasn't the calculation. Oh, and why did this end up cramped? So we go through each object, we get its level. We are processing this level by level. If we had a node that was on this level, we had changes. When we've gotten through all the levels, we're done. We get a highest leader level as we go. All right, follower width. If it is unassigned, so we set our width, we set our position relative to our leader. If we're following nobody, we are following somebody. I guess it's kind of the same check. Then we get that. Make sure we got the object. And leader offset position. Wait, equals? Yes, that's sort of like adding the width across as we go. I think that's what I was thinking about. So we have that. We want this. So we're over offset because you were very wide. So we're building up our offsets within the set of children by saying, okay, your left offset is at 0, is it blah, is it blah? And we're able to center this entire thing under you. That's right, I got something that sort of worked by just kind of arbitrarily subtracting 1. Or 1 unit. But then we're trying to position things based on their centers. And we could do arrangements where we do things like this, where we've got a larger unit attached to something else. And when we attach it, I think we're like doing the entire width, and we're not doing the distance between, or like we move over the distance between these two things, which if we were adding in one of these, so I mean you just got things of unequal size, which we might understand as being made up of multiple sections. We want to be here. But it moves you over, it moves you over. Oh no, the issue is when we add, we can do that okay, but when we take this thing and try to add it with something else, we like get way over somewhere. So I think it has something to do with like if that's the anchor position and this should be your anchor position, we have to add half of this and half of this to get the new anchor position. We're kind of building these things up as we go, so that could be hard to do. So we're like just sort of doing an entire level and starting from the leaves, adding up all the nodes. Still, at the end of it, that's an offset by the entire width of that thing. So do we have to take out our width, or like half of our width? So somewhere in this process, and then we come back here and we do the global updates. So we've got a check for level. We've got a check Oh, this is positioning things relative to their leader, so we don't need to do the leader per se. And here was me trying to offset by half the follower width. And then here's the offset by 1. So leader follower width, which is defining the size of our entire block. And Y is just up 1 level. So my leader's position plus my offset. And then we attempt to center it based on our current known width. So for the simple cases, or it's 1 unit, which is probably has something to do with this. These worked. We have our leader's position. And what was our leader offset? Yeah, so we're recording our offsets as UR plus 0. Hey, Sizzy. That was too much Z and not enough Y. How you doing? The concept of karma. Okay. At what level? Just add and subtract? Oh boy. Do action equals action type. Okay, it's a function. This looks like it might be a multi-line function. Math round. Well, I don't think that's proper JavaScript syntax, but maybe the interpreter's allowing it. Okay, so this is a recursive function. Action type is truthy, which is 1 or 0. Outcome is our plus or minus. Action rand. That should be essentially a Boolean. You'd have to test it. There's a couple things I want to test there with JavaScript's loose types. And then stop is a different random. Which is, okay, so this is a truthy less than or greater than 0.5. This is, so it sounds like you're doing coin flips 2 different ways here, which is interesting. If stop, okay, so this tries to do some random number of events for random events. Yeah. I'd probably just use a counter for that. And that would just become an extra argument. You'd subtract a 1 each time. If you want to do it as an actual recursive function. Which I guess karma, you sort of get the reincarnation thing, so maybe that makes sense. But yeah, if you just want to stop it from being infinite, I'd typically like pass in a counter, and then that would be just an extra argument every time. And you just do, -1 at each loop. So what was the specific problem? Oh, how could I improve it? Okay, so it works. For what you're doing as this, you could do, let's see, const, like coin flip. And pick one of your methods. Although that's sort of implicitly Boolean. So you might want to decide what's like heads or tails, or, well, this is true, false. So maybe that gets a little weird without actually defining what a type is. That could maybe make it a little cleaner. Just to have the 2 things that are kind of doing similar stuff. Outcome +1 -1. So I don't actually see anything doing a sum of the outcomes. It's just printing. So you might want to, and maybe that would actually make this like your argument is the previous karma, and then you just random what happens in this life and update it and then go into the next one. And I mean, if you just want to loop for some number of times, you'd do like a for a while. If you just want to make sure it doesn't go infinite, you could have like a iteration limit, and then maybe also have if karma gets to a certain level. You have to pass 2 arguments to do strict recursive there. MH? Gotcha, kinda. Yeah, is there a particular objective for this? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't know if it was like a certain trying to work on a certain technique or something. Yeah, so just a function that calls itself and prints out a random result. Yes, there's two. I guess there's a couple styles of recursive. One is you would return, you know, assuming you were passing in. Let's see, would you be passing it in then? Maybe this would be more of the flip it in itself. Yeah, you would have to be passing it in. Assuming we got this as an argument. What do we though? So I was thinking karma plus do action, but we've already picked the result for the next life. But then how does that get the accumulator? Because you kind of got this style where you're like, you do... Oh no, maybe this would be like your... Maybe this would be outcome. Plus that. And then at some point, instead of... you're returning true. You just return 0 or 1 or whatever. And then as they returned, you would kind of add it up, and then the overall thing would return a result. I don't know how well JavaScript optimizes this, but this means that you kind of have to keep all of this stuff on the stack, and you know, if you're doing lots and lots of recursive iterations, that could get bigger and bigger. I'd have to check on what JavaScript does, but sometimes languages will do tail recursion, which is when you have something like you do, which either calls it or returns, then it doesn't have to keep the information around. And that's what I was talking about, passing it in. So if you do karma, then you do like, you know, assuming this was our value. Well, you would be passing, you know, outcome plus karma, and then that would give you the new total in the next iteration, and if the optimization was available, it would be able to do the tail call optimization, and just essentially it kind of compiles to a loop, even though you've written it as a recursion. So you don't have to keep all the information around in order to do this addition when you come back. So that might be too complicated for where you're at. But it's when you start talking about recursive stuff that you have those kind of two styles of do something and then put it together at the end, or pass it down in an extra argument. And this style can often be more optimal. Okay. So where were we? I was trying to understand why this thing's off. I think it's because I'm sort of calculating my positions from the left edge and then trying to position things as if they were centered. And I just have to figure out how I express that properly in the mathematics of the things that are available to me. So each box knows its own width from the total, and then each of these has an offset from the left edge, which when you get into, so your offset would be 0 effectively. Do I have to adjust your position? Because then you get things like these odd-sided boxes. So actually that should be half of you. You would be half of your own width. Half of your own width. This thing would be half of its own width, which I think what I was trying to do here. Oh, but this is object using follower width of the leader. So you might need to be yourself. Is that a minus? That might be a... Is that a plus or a minus? Well, things are generally ending up too far to the left. And I've been saying minus here. Leader follower width. Do I care about the leader follower width? So your width would be 2 units here. It's just misaligned. So that would be your center position, which is what we do want to be lined up here. And I was actually, oh, this is, okay, yeah. That's 128 divided by 2. I might still do subtracting that. So we have leader position. We've got our leader offset, which is boop, 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 boop. So for you, that's going to be 0, so plus minus 0. So actually, I want this, the case where there's no children, to be no change. Which was the -1. We're reading that -128. Well, you're offset 0. But when we do that, things all end up out of whack. Because then we come down to something like this. This thing is here. That's your position. Plus the leader offset position. Okay, so this would be 0, which would put it here. And maybe which would put it here. But I draw it based on the center. This one would be plus an entire unit, which would put it over there, and then, so boop, boop. Okay, so yeah, I remember seeing that. So what do we do that offsets these things when there's multiple ones, but not when it's just by itself? Maybe I need to not be keeping a left edge offset. This one here would be solved by moving it over half of its own size. What does that look like if we have that? So your total width should be there. Your total width is there. Your total width is there. You get positioned there. Yeah, so then these get all interesting, just for being different sizes. So you've got an offset there. You've got an offset there. We want you to be positioned there and there. So you have an offset of 0. So we have to do something with the leader's width. Which I used to have a low leader width here. So the left edge would be minus half leader width. And then maybe I have to go in half of your width to position this thing. And those are both half. That people could have outright aged out by this point. They probably won't starve. Oh, okay. For this case, that actually did it. Now, what if we get even more unbalanced stuff? I was up to 4, I think. Oh, yeah, they're getting old, all right. Okay, whose baby are you? Oh, the last known position of... You're Twanda, so I could actually feed the baby, but it's not, probably not going to be too big a deal. So now we have something weird. Your follower. Okay, so part of the problem here is you are... Oh, okay. I need to do something for people without names. Weird. You got... I have a name. You got the name of your Eve, huh? So I think considering both the parent and the child container may have fixed it. About to lose somebody here. You got a mother logged in. So really, I should have somebody farther down to get more interesting... Oh, right, because you have widened this up. Probably. It's just invisible right now. Oh, no, okay, so you directly followed there. Right, because it follows parent. That kind of works out. All right, do I have a baby here? Yeah. Another baby. I need to get to another Eve so that I can... Well... Actually, some of my adult people are probably able to refollow. If I can get into them. Alright, so you were a baby, I don't really need you. Too many mothers. I might have to get into one of the adults. Because everyone's just following mothers here. Baby. And we're getting enough mothers to handle all the babies. Okay. And I'm not really handling disparate networks right now. Okay, so that's not an unusual size, but it's generally doing okay. So I think our layout is okay-ish. It's not going to be super fancy, but we're only really concerned with the living people. I should probably do something for the nameless, too, to give them the circle or whatever. We do have a little bit of a thing there. And then I want to work on... Actually, the circles might have been left over from trying to draw the lines between them. And I was just trying to get the layout straight first. All right. So that solves our layout issue. This comment's a little, maybe not perfect, but all right. We seem to have had no more questions here. Leader, offset, pause, follower, width. That is okay. So that was kind of a similar thing. That was testing. Now where do I draw this? Not taking photo, draw a circle. Not taking photo. We skip the entire thing if there's no name. Leader grass, let's put the circle in there for now. Oh, but that's two conditions. If there's no object, we definitely can't do it. All right, so this... was to do that. To do the line between. I did that in player names. Oh, that specifically draw a name label, which I think makes too many assumptions currently. Yeah, this is using stuff directly in the speaker. For one. It would be nice to get some of this line stuff. But it's actually doing some in particular offsets here. Could I get the line draw part separated? Is really all that name label? Oh, yeah, because I use that as the line with a fixed seed. Oh, right, the blots behind the text. So I'm giving you a character position. And you're pointing at it in prescribed ways. In this case, we want a line between two specific positions, which will kind of be the net result of this in terms of line drawing. So we've got our label pause. I'm not going to worry about keeping this on the screen. Widest line, name label offset. Yeah, so that's positioning, positioning. Oh, and I was using a lighter color for the backdrop. Was the other thing I changed in here. This is the left-right side flipping. And the offset to the left or right, which we're not going to have so much. So label pause. Label pause. This gets constrained to the screen, which I don't think I want here. So really, this is, I think, anchor equals label pause. In pause is the thing we're targeting at. Okay, so the text is drawn from the left. We already sort of worked that out, although, yeah, we did something to sort of work that out. In pause was the character we're pointing at. So if I reword some things here, I could probably get this to... So double pair, anchor equals label pause, and this is like the pointed at position. Now I'm making some assumptions on my inset. Anyway, I've got target pause, anchor, anchor, target pause. I've got this in pause here. Okay, so our target pause is in pause. It has a Y adjustment on it. We're testing it, we're testing it. So target pause should work here. So we've got label position. Oh, now we're adjusting this differently based on whether it is on the left or the right side. So that might have to get done to... So we've got anchor and we've got label position. Okay, so the anchor is the label position, effectively. Unless I might be using label position below this line bit, but if it's an argument to a function, we can... So we would do this before calling in? I think the label position here is at the edge of the character. Let's see, less than X if it is on the left side of the screen. We go over a little bit. So on the right side of the screen, we go over a lot a bit. I think that's just about the angle of line I want. I might have to extract this and then see if I can get it working good for name labels. We've got anchor, we've got... Well, the drawing the label part, well, there's this fade. We've got our first line. This is probably just like the number of loops we do on blots or something. Maybe this num blots as far as the density of it. It'd be nice if I could get this into, well, some of this code is technically in another patch, so getting that, working that back could be tricky. So some of this stuff is specific to the name labels. And some of it is just to a label pointing at a particular spot. Or it could be, you know, it could be thought of as a label connecting to a spot. So I'm mainly interested in the line draw right now. I probably want to do something with the rest of it. They're going to have some method of insetting from the text, which is kind of assumed in this like length minus right now. Actually, can I just copy this for the time being and then work out abstraction later? I took that out. We've got that text. I guess it'd be, well, something is potentially over the text regardless. All right, and then we've got a text pause, which we offsetted by text width for this. That's text pause. Leader graph, last screen view center. So you're going to be like label pause. And then you get offset, which I guess that would have been an argument for doing this before that. Right, because the label pause, this modifies its own anchor. I don't think I want to do this in this particular way here. I think that label pause might have been a left edge. It was all plus. And then we've got label pause to leader graph pause. Target pause. Is going to be my leader graph pause. I mean, the offset might sort of be able to do what I need. And I was basing this on target pause. But it does kind of work out to an offset. I need to get back to the code that calculates this stuff. Game object, following ID, get game object following ID. We've only got a target pause if that exists. Oh, I need to draw the text and stuff. And we only draw this if that exists. And that might be a straight up line. I probably have to deal with some text offsets. And probably everybody's dead. Oh, and I forgot who I was even logged in as. Segmentation fault. That was interesting. Okay. Right, we're putting the circle there all the time. I should really fix the draw color sometime. Well, yeah, so the segmentation fault killed everybody. Maybe you made the food decrement too long and somebody finally hit the timer. My circle is actually kind of getting in the way here. I kind of want to have something there, just so you can tell that there's a person when there's not a person. I should probably actually set the draw color. Maybe it was like all my weird cross-family following relationships. All right, I am seeing no line there. Now, I had a pretty big length cutoff on the other line, so maybe that's not general. Actually, that entire circle was 32, and that was covering the space. Or, yeah, it was 32. That was length of 64. That'd be way too much, because I was dodging a body and a label before. Now I'm dodging just 2 pieces of text. Okay. And I think my was using like a weird partial offset to account for that body. Yeah, 0.6. And the relationship between them. So maybe I won't be able to generalize this. Or, yeah, you had enough arguments, you can generalize anything, I guess. All right, and we would like to have some more stuff to look at. Oh, that's how you can kind of get stuff off. Oh, you're a baby again. You got past the no baby point. Okay. So that's kind of okay. Well, this spacing is not good. I'm not really considering the width of the text. Well, I don't know if I necessarily want to use wide names like that. Okay, so we did in fact dodge the need for this stuff. So the parameters we need are like the margin inset. And if we considered that as leading and trailing margins, I might be able to figure out this part in a slightly different way. Like label margin and target margin or something. And at some point I'd have to push that back down to the other patch. Which, doing cross-patch stuff could be a little bit hairy. But that could just about be a draw line. And I guess that would not imply drawing the label at the end of the line, since in some cases there isn't a line to connect to. So maybe a separately abstract, drawing a sort of faded name label type thing. Actually, maybe this is where I should go back to the other patch, pull out line draw. Pull out you see that entire thing is a name label. What would you call it in the general form? Maybe draw a name label needs to get renamed. Like draw a character label. Draw a live object label. And the name label would just, take a string, we'll have to measure a string multiple times. Maybe I could have a option to pass in the measurement if it was known. That would make this strictly dependent on the name label patch. Unless I further abstracted that stuff into like a naming support refactoring type thing. But perhaps that's okay. STG go to name labels. Name label. Show name labels. Draw name label. Okay, so the name matches up nice, but so this is like draw a character name label, which these are member functions. So why did you need to be a member function? The line I'm drawing is a member. Now, measure, M floor sprite. Is that the only reason? I mean, maybe not M chalk blot sprite. Chalk background string. So did I? Because that would effectively be a color. If it was just alpha. I think I just drew less blots, though. Not random source. Okay, so it might be num blots. Draw chalk. Then your blots. You do num blots. What's my num blots? No, that's length. What determines the darkness of it? I thought it was like a number of layers. line size, num blots, blot pause. Oh. No. It's literally, we do it twice and then move it up and down a little bit. So we'd either have to add an argument for that or go back to our own little thing. Okay. Well, we've got the like sort of draw pointer line thing. This could be a bit abstracted in place. So this is specific to this thing, which really means that we've got this should be like the input to it. So you've got your anchor pause and your target pause, and really it's just 2 lines. It's going to be A and B as far as this is concerned. And then I guess since that's a double, this should be a double. So I want a ratio of 0. The rough equivalent of an 0.6. All right, so we've pretty much solved this. So if we've got 2 points, there's some differential inset to account for the object we're pointing at. And then we want to draw a line in here, and it's going to be a centered because we're kind of drawing a graphic within a filter circle. And I want the equivalent of 60% or 0.6 by calculating from these margins. Now that was 0.6 on the entire line, but that's the ratio we want. So probably we want an inset that is, these things have a 60% ratio, a 60-40 relationship, which I don't know if it's going to be perfect for 64. 38.4. Well, we fudged that to like 38. And $25, $27. It's going to be 26, like 26 and 38. So the anchor inset, I think, would probably be, and should really be the smaller of those. So we're adding to the target positions. That makes sense. I just kind of chose 64 kind of arbitrarily before. So that would be so cut down the overall line length, and our center position I'm going to use this twice. And that was target inset. To guarantee that it's not, well, if they're negative, you can't guarantee it's not 0. But if you passed in 0, 0, you'd want that to not be a divide by 0. If that was 0, 0, we wouldn't really have a ratio between those things. And I'd still want it to be 0.5 in that case. So we'd want to do target offset plus length divided by... So maybe we don't use this twice. Oh, this is length line, so this... Double pair line. Oh yeah, because that's a coordinate. Okay, so that's not the text. I need the total length. How often do we use this? Use it twice. And this is a work in progress. Or actually, I guess I could get back with just an addition to get to the total length. Target off. Okay, so yeah, len divided by 2 is correct, but we have to divide that whole thing by len plus inset. Just be necessary. Len plus inset. Well, I guess if inset is not 0, then len is not. I guess you pass 2 equal coordinates. That would be 0. And that would make it -1. And then you'd add the inset back to -1, and it would be 0 again. This is probably... Is it min? Or no, actually it's max. So line pause, line pause, line. Target offset. Target inset. Okay, so it's not max. Yeah, maybe there's not a handy thing for that. Well, we're worried about 0. We're also worried about len really shouldn't be negative. Now you're not specifically a problem. I guess there's still -1 inset. Okay, that's kinda okay. My positioning math might be a little bit off. Feels like we're kind of close to the person and not so much to the label. I did switch around my math. Also, I don't know exactly what these links are to try and calculate it. But I presume this would have to be more extreme to represent what was going on here. We changed to, what, 32, which would be 16 in from you. Actually, I wanted more inset from the person. Okay, as close to the text, it's not necessarily farther from the person. It's kind of okay. All right, so this is the stuff we would need as parameters. Draw a pointer line. All right. Double pair. It's currently called anchor. Possibly need different names. I mean, label pause could work. Just have to do the replacement on it. Did I need anything else? No, it's not a double pair, it's a double. But now we have to do living life page. Pushes this back out. Draw pointer line from label pause to target pause with, you could almost intersperse these coordinates. So it was clearly like label pause with inset 16, target pause with inset 48. I guess these, you could imagine making these optional. You know, I guess it would just be 0. All right, so we wanted to go ahead and make this label pause. I mean, maybe it's not necessarily a label, but this is what I'm using it for in every case. I guess these have, oh, actually, no, we do calculate an anchor here. Let's have maybe a little value in documentation. Okay, still seems pretty good. The other piece So that would be, fade would have to be a parameter. This is assuming a pre-broken lines. Handwriting font draw screen. So name label fade, name label fade. Widest line. I'm going to want to set this up. I think I want to pass the center. Well, the draw background string doesn't do that. How much of this do I need to calculate? Because like this is all from the draw background string, which is the measuring, the line breakup. I've kind of got that extra step in there, or we need some of the intermediary position information. So that stuff's all fine. We've got widest line, which we use to try and do the screen edge limiting. And that's all the stuff to position the label position. Well, we do remeasurement here anyway, but this is taking an array of lines. Some of that work up there is also going to be in here. Okay, so this is the keeping the speech on the screen part. So that's already there. Or rather, we'd be skipping a bunch of that. But we've got uppercase, we've got split lines, which all kind of works into having that stuff to measure it. And first line Y, which is going to go into our drawing. Or is it? Yes. Okay, so this is the character name, which is already a slightly reduced version of it. We're definitely using first line. We are Multi-line is a little bit of a leftover from the generic version. I guess if I got a really long name, maybe I'd want to wrap it. My draw character name label does all of that stuff to figure out the bounds. If it then calls a sub function to do the drawing, all of the work will get repeated. Or if I do the part that takes the lines, I have to do the breaking the lines outside of that. So we got first length y. Is that the only thing we calculate here? So we got target pause. Which we adjust the y but never use the y. Well, no, we use target pause.x. Oh, and we draw the pointer to it. But that's not... Okay, so the character and then up a little bit. We've got label pause, which we adjust based on that. And we use that x value. So target pause, we don't really use outside of calculations. Label pause, we do a bit. Width we use for that adjustment. Use width limit, which we don't use split lines, width limit. String upper lines. Plus line size, plus line size, plus line size. Full width, we use width equals full width. We already checked width. So we get lines out of all the splitting and stuff. This thing offsets stuff. This offsets it by width divided by 2 to get the start position for how it's going to get drawn. And then we use that when we're doing all of the bound checking stuff. I mean, or I just duplicate all the work for every name. Alright, now we're using draw chalk bound string. It just draws the wrong kind of background. Name label does a bunch of custom positioning. I really don't want to duplicate the whole name label thing again, just because I want a similar background effect. Although maybe I would want to customize the display of that more. So what? Not bounds check. I just left a split and everything. Like they're so similar and just that little bit different. We get to actually drawing the name. So there's setup, draw the name, there's the connection line, which depends on the position of the text. Text position gets done inside of the function. So we can't just like call the line separately. Unless we like essentially do out parameters on it. Well, there's something. Draw name label has a lot of screen fudging and stuff. The position of it is pretty much known for the hierarchy graph. So if we did the work twice for the name labels, it would be the positioning of it. And then we draw the pointer and draw the label. For the hierarchy, we'd know the point, so we just draw the line and draw the label. So you'd have double work, but you'd sort of have that encapsulated as well. Calculate the position of this name. Might be a battle for another day. Hierarchy. Extracting label functions. And I guess I could go do the pointer thing. Maybe resolve some conflicts there. Which already has conflicts. I changed something in here while working on it. And it got a very weird patch out of it. That's gonna be too common. How about anchor? There we go. So there's the target pause. Draw pointer line. How do you label target or target label? I did label target. Oh. Segmentation fault. When somebody disconnected. Interesting. I mean, you'd hear about that if it was happening on the main server, right? Is there a manual follow in this one? I wonder if this is my super long hunger times. Yeah, everybody's dead. Somebody finally got to the point of ticking down. It might just be too many zeros. Okay, so we've still got a line here, and that seems to be fine. Yeah, I don't have I don't know if the timing for that segmentation fault. Now, this was a conflict, so we're gonna have to manually add it. And then we want a build we can use today. Constructing label functions, yeah. So just all that string manipulation, it seems like it's going to end up duplicated if you try to do the simple pass a string, draw a string thing, but you also have to do all the measurement to position it in the first place. And the character label does a bunch of specific thing and updates some specific values, which was me being kind of lazy and just updating it in the character object. But if you could draw that and get the drawn position out, Huh. Or I'd have to have some way of representing like all of the interesting facts of a text. Well, you'd want the lines and the measurements. Some intermediary data structure for it. And again, maybe trying to avoid doing that as premature optimization. It's causing me a lot of trouble. Anyway, to fresh thinking on another day. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the subs. Let me see if we have anything to recommend. It's good to know there's plenty of people hosting me. Let's see. Do you have any other programming going on? This is when I'm usually on. Da, 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 da. Huh. Oh. Aaron's on doing his own stuff. There we go. Let's see, he's doing persistent data storage. So that's going to be some ports to local storage probably. Unless he's